Thank you for joining me today. It's Brian Gubernick, and welcome to the No Days Off podcast, where we believe that every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. Today's episode is going to be about wealth, and it comes directly out of a conversation that I had today with George Antone, who is the author of a number of great books, specifically, though, one of my favorite wealth books, The Wealthy Code. If you have never studied George's work, please go ahead and do it because you're missing one of the most practical and clearest explanation of how wealth is actually built. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into some of George's thoughts and principles around wealth. And this episode isn't going to be around theory. This is going to be about the math behind becoming wealthy, the mechanics you need to understand if you want to make the jump from working harder to having money work harder than you do. So when I was chatting with George earlier today, one thing became obvious to me rather quickly. Most people have no idea how wealth is created. Most people have no idea how wealth is created. In talking with George and hearing kind of why he has written the content that he has and what his experience tells him. Again, it was very clear most people have no idea how wealth is created. They chase higher income, but they don't understand the forces behind financial independence. They don't understand the formulas. They don't understand the levers that move wealth forward. And George's work in the book, The Wealthy Code, breaks this down in a way that I think is shockingly simple. And it's pretty honest as well. So today, what I want to do is I want to share the top 3 principles that actually matter. These are the big drivers that come out of George's work and came from the conversation I had with him today. Number 1, cash flow is king and your net worth is not enough. Cash flow is king. See, most people chase a higher net worth, this figure on a piece of paper. And George argues, he contends, you should actually obsess over cash flow, not necessarily net worth, because it's cash flow that buys your freedom. So here's the distinction. Net worth is a number on a balance sheet. Cash flow is the engine that pays you for life. So George's formula around this is that you aren't wealthy until your passive cash flow exceeds your lifestyle expenses. So yes, you can leverage net worth as a mechanism to calculate, where you're at passive income wise or where you could project you'd be. But to get down to it, you're not wealthy until the passive cash flow you're literally receiving exceeds your lifestyle expenses. So you can have a multi-million-dollar net worth and still be financially fragile. Think about the landowner that on paper has a massive net worth, but land, specifically land not being used, doesn't create cash flow. Cash flow reduces stress. Cash flow creates options. Cash flow buys your time back. George contends that the wealthy don't ask things like, well, am I worth $5 million? Instead, they ask, how much income hits my account every month without me showing up? That's the wealth lens shift. Takeaway number 2, understand the levers of leverage. Understand the levers of leverage. And George really talks about leverage being the wealth accelerator. See, most people think leverage is only about debt, but George explains that there are really 3 types of leverage, and the wealthy have a deep understanding as to how to use all 3. First, there's OPM, which stands for other people's money. Other people's money. So using other people's money, other people's capital to acquire assets that produce income. The next type of leverage is other people's time. Other people's time includes systems and teams and delegation that free you from trading hours for dollars. And then there's OPS, other people's skills. This is really the expertise that you don't have to master yourself. So what George Antone makes clear is this: leverage is what separates linear growth from exponential growth. And remember, he defines leverage as other people's money, other people's time, or other people's skills. So it's not just about debt. So a person earning $500,000 a year with no leverage still has a job. A person earning $150,000 a year of passive income through leverage is actually wealthy. And this is the architecture of real wealth. You build a machine that runs even when you don't. And then takeaway number 3, the wealth triad. The wealth triad. And this is what George would describe as the real game. George teaches this simple but pretty powerful tool. He says true wealth requires 3 things working together. Number 1, capital, which is really money available for investment. Number 2, cash flow, which is income produced by the capital. And then number 3 is equity growth. Equity growth is the appreciation or the value increase over time. So you have capital, cash flow, and equity growth. Most people focus on only one. And usually, at least my observation, usually that's appreciation. In other words, they hope the market bails them out. However, wealthy people engineer all 3. So they stockpile capital aggressively. They place that capital into cash flowing assets. And then they choose assets with equity upside. So they stockpile money, they deploy that money into assets, and ideally they're picking up assets with equity upside. That is how you compress time. That is leverage. You force multiple wealth engines to work simultaneously. I've got one bonus takeaway. I mentioned 3, but let me give you a 4th. Right? So not just the 3 principles, let me give you a 4th. And that's around the cash flow index. This is one of the most practical tools I think that George teaches. He calls it cash flow index, which is CFI. CFI tells you which debts to pay off first. Pay very close attention here. Here's the formula. Loan balance divided by monthly payment equals CFI, equals cash flow index. So the lower the CFI, the more inefficient the loan is, meaning pay it off first. Why? Well, because eliminating that payment frees up cash flow the fastest, which you can then redeploy into assets. So take a loan payment. Let's say, just for sake of conversation, it's $10,000. And you have a $500 monthly payment. That would make your CFI $10,000 divided by 500, which is 20. CFI in this case would be 20. Now, if you had a same loan balance, but the monthly payment was 1,000, then your CFI would be 10. And as George is saying, the lower the CFI, the more inefficient the loan. So pay that one off first, because again, eliminating that payment frees up cash flow the fastest. This is how the wealthy get ahead. They free up cash flow, they buy assets, and then they repeat the cycle. So when I talked to George, he really emphasized that wealth isn't emotional. It's mechanical. It's formula-based. It's predictable. And if you understand cash flow and if you understand leverage, if you understand this wealth triad, and if you use tools like CFI, then you take wealth creation out of kind of the realm of hope and actually put it into math. That's the difference between a high earner and a wealthy person. So today, here's what I'm going to challenge you to do. I want you to go online, go to your search engine of choice, and I want you to type in George Antone, Antone, and type in the wealthy code. So George Antone, the wealthy code. What you'll find if you just search around a little bit, you could buy the book and all that. George wouldn't mind me saying this. You could actually find the Wealthy Code PDF. So you could download the book right online. So search George Antone, the Wealthy Code PDF, search it, and you will find a site or two that houses the PDF. And I want you to download it, and I want you to start reading it. I think that this book could be a game changer for you. It's one I haven't talked about in a little while, and I should be talking about it more because it's so darn good. That's going to be your action item today. So look up The Wealthy Code by George Antone. Read that book. It's a quick one, and then deploy what it is you learn. A lot of it I covered today, but there's a lot I didn't cover, and I think there's real opportunity for you. That's all I have for you today. The No Days Off podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. So let's get after it.